Now, were you a fan of professional wrestling growing up?
I was a fan of in high school, Dusty Rhodes, Eddie Graham. There was a bunch of them. Great Malenko. I was real big fans of Dusty Rhodes. Dusty eventually broke me into the business.
Oh,
Gave me the
okay.
opportunity to become a professional wrestler.
Now, did you play college football?
I played the University of Georgia under Coach Dooley. Then I was drafted by the New York Jets in 1975. I was there for Lou Holtz's first year there,
Oh, wow.
and his last.
Were you there when Joe Namath was there?
It was Joe's last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have some more.
You have any good Joe Namath stories?
He was real nice. It was fun to go out and in the bars, and he'd pick up the tab. A rookie just out of college, man. Broadway Joe. That was pretty cool.
That's awesome. How friendly were you with Scott Hall before you guys got into the wrestling business?
Me and Scott, that's how we met, was through Dusty. Dusty put us together as American Starship, Eagle, and Coyote. When he shipped us off to Kansas City, it was Harley Race's territory, along with a guy named Bob Geigel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how me and Scott got together. We drove from Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, we went from Tampa to Charlotte. Dusty got moved to Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
We followed Dusty to Charlotte, and then Dusty sent us to Kansas City, which was a smaller territory, and we gave us an opportunity to be like mainliners and stuff. And that's how me and Scott got put together. Eagle and Coyote. I was Eagle and he was Coyote.
Yep, the American Starship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, who actually trained you? Was it Dusty that actually trained you, or?
Dusty, Dusty got my foot in the door. I mean, he was the booker. He was the one in charge. He arranged for me and Scott to go to Kansas City out there in Harley's territory, which me and Harley became very good friends after a while. Down the road, when I finally made it, went to the WWF.
Hmm.
I'd say Ricky Steamboat helped me the most. Along with Barry Windham helped me some, and Ricky Steamboat worked with me, and Shawn Michaels had started about that time. Him and Jannetty, and it was like me and Scott Hall against Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. It was pretty good matches. It was a good way to break in.
Yeah, most
it was
definitely.
low pay, though.
Was it?
Very low pay.
Now, did you wrestle a little bit for Crockett before you went up to Kansas City?
After I went to Kansas City, I stayed there for a while. Scott was told to stay there for a little longer, and I went to back to Charlotte, and I worked there for a while, and just basically almost starved to death. And then I got a call from I can't remember the guy's name, the old booker for WWF.
Scott?
Yeah, George Scott.
Scott.
That's it. Yeah, thanks. I need help. And Barry Windham had quit, and Mike Rotundo and him were doing this American deal thing, the red, white, and blue, and come back to the USA deal from Springsteen, I guess it was. And so I kind of took Barry's place as a character and came in there, and me and Rotundo did the American Express deal.
Yeah. Now, before you went there, whose idea was it to give you the furry boots?
That was my idea. It wasn't a very good one, but it was different. That's the only thing I can say about the boots.
Yeah. Didn't they have you back then ripping off your T-shirt too?
No, I didn't really. That was Hogan's gimmick.
Oh, okay.
So I really didn't do the T-shirt ripping off.
Yeah. Early in your career, what are your memories of working the Andersons?
The Andersons. We got beat every night. It was a real privilege working with those guys. They could really work, and we learned a lot from them.
Yeah.
Arn was a big help, early in my career too, with philosophy and stuff.
How about Ole?
Ole, he was he was the booker there for a while in WCW, and he was a big help, and he was pretty good to me.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Kansas City, what were your thoughts on Bob Geigel?
Not much. Bob was okay. He was good to me and Scott. I mean, you drive 250 miles for $50. It really sucks, and it was a hell of an experience. It was we learned. We got to work every night, and it helped us, take that next step.
So I guess the reputation that Kansas City had back then of not being a good paying territory is pretty accurate?
Yes, very accurate.
And what are your memories of your matches in Kansas City with Bob Brown and Marty Jannetty?
Bulldog Bob Brown.
Yes.
Horrifying. Horrifying. It was Bob Brown was he was brutal.
Yeah.
Marty was a good worker. I mean, after a while, him and Sean got together and they became a real good tag team out there in Kansas City.
Yeah.
But I hated working with Bulldog Bob Brown. It was terrible.
Wow. Was he just not good, or was he taking advantage of you because you were young, or?
Taking advantage of us because we were young and he was lazy.
Mm.
And he was old, which I can't say much about that.
Mm. Scott Hall said in an interview in regards to Kansas City, he's like, Danny didn't like Kansas City too much. Is that true?
I hated it. I mean, driving all that way, but I paid my dues, where I hold it in high regard, that I paid the price. And these guys that come from point A to point B and don't have to pay their dues, I have less respect for them.
Sid, we did an interview with Sid earlier today, and we talked a lot about that, about back then how the guys like him and you did different territories, where today guys just immediately get started in the WWE, and it's kind of hurting the business a bit.
Yeah, I mean, paying your dues and doing those 250-mile trips and getting the $50 payoffs, I mean, you have... there's a bond between those guys, this guy paid his dues. I remember when he was struggling in Kansas City, and here he is today,
Yeah.
So you have a lot more respect for those guys. I mean, these guys that just come in and they don't have to do those small shots and drive those miles, for those low payoffs. They don't last long.
Yeah. How did you wind up working back for Crockett? Did you just give Dusty a call, or?
After I'd been out in Kansas City for a while, I gave Dusty a call. I told him I was ready to come back, and he called Harley, and Harley told him I was ready. So Scott was asked to stay, but Scott left Kansas City and went to the AWA after I had left Crockett and went to New York.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.